It was James Baldwin who wrote, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Welcome back, Equity Warriors. Thanks for tuning in to another episode focused on the intersection of education and politics here on the 3E podcast. I have something I want to talk about today, and it's you're hearing it over and over, and it's about what schools can and can teach when it comes to topics related to race. Hot topic over the last several years, and really causing a lot of commotion at the local level and school board meetings, at the state level, and even at the federal level. So recently, the Office for Civil Rights, which sits in the Department of Education at the federal level, sent out a letter to school districts to make it clear where federal law stands on this topic. Basically, what the Fed said is that they're okay for schools to have books about race discrimination and racial justice. Schools can also have classes and events that celebrate different cultures and races. None of that stuff, according to the federal government, none of that will break any federal civil rights laws. But here's the twist. It's state and local government that gets the final say on what gets taught or what programs schools can and cannot run. So the federal government basically washing its hands of that part. So the question I asked was, why do you put out guidance if you're not going to take some action? Well, they've been getting a lot of complaints, requests for guidance from schools that are confused about what's okay and what's not when it comes to talking and teaching about race in public school systems. So there's an 18-page document with a bunch of what-if scenarios that goes along with this. I'm going to make sure that you have a link to that document down in the notes. But for example, let's say your school makes it mandatory for everyone to read a book about racial justice. While the federal government won't step in unless parents complain that it's creating a bad environment at the school based on race. Keep that in mind, Equity Warriors. The document also talks about classes that might focus on a specific culture or an ethnic group, like African American studies or Mexican American history. Again, no problem from the federal side unless it's creating a hostile environment. Schools assemblies and meetings where people can talk about their experiences with regards to race. Well, federal law, again, they're pretty cool with that as long as they aren't excluding anyone based on race. So if you have an affinity group or a club at your school that's focused on African American experience or Mexican American experiences, but it is open to everyone to join, if someone complains that the club is discriminatory, that won't fly. But still, there's all this confusion because state and local governments, I'm not going to name those two states' names again because there's more than two, but they're putting their own rules in place. A lot of them are a lot stricter, and that's what causes a lot of the debates that you see at school boards. You have issues between teachers, parents, even with students, people being torn over whether schools should have race-related programs and classes. Well, I would ask this, don't we already? Because if the lens through which subjects are taught, through which history is covered, which books are chosen, if all of that is done through a white European lens and it excludes the majority or near majority of learners in a school district, isn't that race-related programming? Or is it only race-related when the race is anything other than white? So this year, there have been a record number, according to the federal government, a record number of complaints about racial issues in school. And that's part of the reason why the feds felt that there was a need to say something. Now, it doesn't help that different states have different rules, and teachers and administrators are left twisting in the wind about what they can and cannot do, whether or not if they teach something that someone decides makes them uncomfortable, if they're going to end up losing their jobs. And that's where we are right now, that schools are caught in the middle. They're trying to navigate this landscape that is filled with potholes and landmines. And for those educators who want to create an environment where everyone feels included and can learn about different cultures and different histories, well, those educators have a tightrope to walk to do so. So what can you do as an equity warrior, as a parent, as a leader, as a teacher, as a citizen? James Baldwin said it, nothing can be changed until it is faced. We've got to face the fact that we have work to do. We have to get involved and stay involved. We have to vote. Remember, here in America, people died for you to have the right to vote. So exercise it. Vote, especially in your state and local elections, your school board and your state legislatures. Those are the ones that are creating these policies. And if your child of color feels discomfort at the lens through which school is being taught the books that they must read or cannot read, you have an equal right to complain about your discomfort. Do so. Go to your local school board meetings, advocate through social media, follow me across my channels, subscribe, share, turn on, and continue to join me every week. Connect with me on social, use those links down in the notes. Send me your questions, comments, topics, requests to info@askdrberry.com, and I will answer your questions and continue to bring you other experts to help address those topics. Remember, don't worry about the things you cannot change. Change the things you can no longer accept. And I'll see you next time.